All right, hi and welcome everyone to the broadcast. I am your host, Professor Tuck, coming to you from the high desert of Arizona. And today is Community Wednesday, so every weekday we cover an issue. On Mondays we cover the Constitution and how it's being circumvented. On Tuesdays we talk about the privacy implications of new regulations, because as we move into the digital world, you definitely need to understand how to protect your privacy if you value privacy. And then today is Community Wednesday. We talk about community, and normally I have an article all written up, but um, Stephanie is our sponsor here. She is the owner of Open Air Properties. You can go over to openairproperties.net, and I'm doing a video for her as part of the sponsorship, and what I wanted to cover this month was more of the integral parts, the more important parts of community, because um, we can talk about, how do you find community. We can talk about all kinds of different things, but we haven't really talked about, what's a community like, especially if you've never lived off grid before, and if you'd like to understand what living off grid is. This is going to be one of those broadcasts where you're going to be able to get a deeper understanding. But this episode, and this is being sponsored by Stephanie at Open Air Properties. For the 4th of July week, she is doing a special sale. This is probably some of the best deals that you will ever get from Stephanie at openairproperties.net. So she's got property in Arizona, Colorado, and Arkansas. And right now, she is waiving the $100 deposit and only charging the $249 document fee, but she's actually allowing you to choose your payment. You have a minimum payment that you have to do, a bare bones payment that you have to do, and it's going to extend your contract the lower you make your payments. But you can make it as low as possible, or you can make it as high as possible and commit to that. But you will have a bare minimum that you need to make as far as a payment. So if for the remainder of this week, so for today and tomorrow, because on Friday she's going to come out with another special deal, and I don't fully understand what it is, so I'm going to wait for her to tell me. But for Arizona and Colorado, your bare minimum payment with the $10 processing fee plus the property tax, because it's like $1 a month, is $136. But if you go over to Arkansas, the bare minimum payment is $86. So it would be 125 or 75, but with the $11 that it would be cost to add for the property tax and the processing fee. So she doesn't charge interest. That's the great thing about her. And it's all owner finance. So if you're looking for somebody that's willing to give you a chance and give you an opportunity to get up and get that dream piece of land and get it in an off-grid community, Stephanie at Open Air Properties is definitely the place to go. Tell her that Friar Tuck sent you. And if you listen to this broadcast and want to check her out afterwards, if you use the promo code Friar Tuck when you reach out to her, you will get $50 off of your deposit. So for those of you that are getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July this weekend, and which is Friday, happy 4th of July. And I hope that your 4th of July is enjoyable. I don't want to forget about 4th of July, because that was the day the Declaration of Independence was officially signed. It was actually supposed to be signed on July 3rd, but I think it was John Hancock was running late. It was either him or Ben Franklin was running late, and that's actually why it was signed on the 4th instead of the 3rd. And quite frankly, the 3rd of July just sounds kind of weird. The 4th of July sounds so much better. So maybe it was just a PR or a marketing campaign, and they were debating over which was the better branding, July 3rd Independence or July 4th. Who knows? But anyways, we're going to be talking about community today. And since this is Community Wednesday, I have friends within my off-grid community. I will give you some personal experience about how it was for me to come into an off-grid community, especially being my first time and not really understanding like how to get in really small communities. I mean, this is so small that it's almost it's that super gray zone. I mean, you're not you're not in the incorporated municipality, but you're not out of the incorporated municipality. So the rules kind of apply to you, but they don't apply to you. And so that's the great thing about living off grid. But there are very few places in America that you can do it. Here in Arizona is one of the last places in America where you can actually live a true off grid experience if that's what you're seeking. But if you're seeking to turn that off grid experience into a homestead, this is also there are plenty of great places, whether it's Arizona, Colorado, or Arkansas, or any other state. Quite frankly, I almost wanted to move to the property in Arkansas, but uh, I chose, I chose Arizona for other reasons. And if you watch my YouTube videos where I talk about what I'm planning for, what I'm preparing for, that will kind of give you a deeper understanding of how why I chose Arizona. Because if there ever is a nuclear exchange, this is probably the least likely spot to get heavily burned. There is a chance of survival here, unlike a lot of other places in America. And most people, I think, we do not know as much about nuclear fallout as we think we do. We're kind of in our infancy. So this is something that I think that people should understand, that it's not going to turn out the way the scientists have told us, because when it happens on such a large scale, it's going to react differently, because you're going to have three nuclear powers that are going to go back and forth with each other. One strike, one counter strike, maybe another counter strike, maybe allies come into the rescue. Next thing you know, the whole northern hemisphere is uninhabitable. And that's the great thing about the people out here in the Arizona desert where I live, is that a good portion of the people out here are waiting for that moment to happen, because they've been preparing for, some of them decades, some of them just a few years. But the average person out here is a, you could almost call them a doomsday prepper. They are preparing for the whole grid to go down and for everything to kind of go sideways. And that's something that you will have to have an understanding for, because it takes a different mindset, it takes a different content of character, it takes a different everything to be able to interact with people like that, because these people are already in their mind partially operating in cashless systems. They're operating in handshake deals. It's all about integrity. They're going back to the core primal rules of civilization, which is your word is your bond, your handshake is your agreement, and so therefore you will follow through. And out here, that is something that is really important. And if you don't follow through on what it is that you say, especially within that community, you lose integrity, and you lose the ability to be able to follow somebody and be able to trust that they're going to do what they say that they're going to do. The last thing you want to do is push people to a point of not trusting you, because now you're burning bridges, because you may have crops, they may have livestock, they may have tools, they may have all kinds of other stuff. I mean, there's people out here with tractors, graders. You got different kinds of farms. I got to see a horse farm today. There's all kinds of different stuff that's going on. And so if you guys are hearing this in the background, I've got a big storm coming through, and you're hearing the tarp kind of flailing in the wind. So I do apologize if you guys hear it. Please be understanding with it. But this is the type of person. This is one of the types of people that you're going to meet out here. The other types of people that you're going to meet out here are veterans. And we're not talking about veterans that were like in communications or supply clerks or administrative assistants. We're talking about the actual people that went and fought on the front lines. There's a guy over here, I guess his name is Wild Bill. He is a veteran of the Iraq War. He got to see combat. I guess he got hit by an IED, from the story that I've heard. And he come out here so that he can actually have peace and quiet and a peace of mind, because coming back from a war zone and then trying to reintegrate into society, especially with the things that you had to see, do, and witness, it makes it much harder for you to integrate back into society. So places like this become last bastions of hope for people like that. So if you want to come in and into this area and you want to be a Karen, you're not going to survive very long. If you want to be a city slicker, you're not going to survive very long, because again, out here people are trying to keep to themselves, trying to do their own thing, trying to be, trying to just survive. And some of them are living hand to mouth, and some of them are not. Some people have good money coming in, some people do not. Some people develop their wealth while out here. Some come with it. There's all kinds of different people that come out here. And so if you're thinking of, do I want to do the off-grid lifestyle? What you've got to ask yourself is, can somebody walk around you with a gun and you not get spooked, start keeping an eye on it, or get uneasy because you're feeling under threat for one reason or another? I got to see one of my neighbors. His kids are all armed. He's armed. I get to see, I get to see, all kinds of weapons and stuff like that. But I see them. It doesn't bother me, and things like that. And I tolerate it because that's the lifestyle out here. If you're going to see a gun and you're going to get spooked and stuff like that. Now they do offer me, they're like, hey, if you ever need one, let me know and we can help you find one for yourself. And it's like, well, I appreciate it, but I'm the type of person that I would rather do it by hand, and I would rather it be intentful than to have a ranged weapon. In a situation where it calls for it, if you ask me, yes, I probably will. But only as part of that group. But would I do it, just willy nilly, just have one for myself? No, I just don't want to own a gun. And the thing is that also makes you less of a threat to your neighbors, so they feel more comfortable with you. You just got to make sure you ain't got some of those crazy crackpots, because there's a guy out here that I've seen that I could tell that this guy is so crazy that if he were to, if the grid were to go down, he would probably, um, uh, he would probably take a lot of lives just because he could. There are people like that you're going to have to deal with that in the city, and that's going to be even worse. At least out here, you've got a fighting chance, and you got community, and everybody already knows who's going to do what. And um, I've I've already stated where I'm going to go with that situation. Should I see some of these people that I know are going to go that far, or at least I have a key indicator that's telling me that they're going to go that far. Once the grid goes down, people like that may not be around very long, as the community is very proactive. And out here, somebody like that wouldn't last very long. He would find the wrong person. It would be resistance. But if you're in a city, that's something that that you're definitely going to have to worry about. It's not that easy. To deal with to deal with somebody like that. I'm just gonna kind of keep it on a kosher mend, but I'm gonna keep it as polite as possible, because I know the first 15 minutes are on YouTube and I post them a week later. If you guys actually want to listen to the full broadcast and you're listening to this on a different social media platform, come on over to hobotuck.com and sign up for my a weekly broadcast digest, and then that way you can keep up with what it is that I put out each week. And you may not even need to be on YouTube anymore after that, because things will change. But I don't want people to get scared of what it is that I talk about, because a lot of people, as soon as I hear certain words, they're like, "Ooh, I'm scared." Well, you know what? You got to realize, like, our ancestors used to live among people like this at all times too, but they also knew how to deal with them, how to make sure to keep them in line, and they knew how far that these people were willing to go. And so, I mean, it doesn't. The thing about society is, as we multiply, the law of averages multiplies the number of people that are homicidal, and if there was no rule of law, that's exactly what they would be doing. And that's something that most people don't really realize or think about, is that you could very easily It was just as common then as it is now. The only difference is we've got 8 billion people, so instead of having maybe 100 of these people, you've got a million.